Do you feel like people are watching you? Like the thing that you're trying to accomplish, you really have no right to try and accomplish? Do you feel like despite everything that you've done, you really are pretending to be good at it when in fact you know that you're not? Is that you? If it is that affecting the audience that you have, that you're trying to go out and get? Well, that's our question today. Hi everyone, this is Paul with TrinityDigitalMedia.com, and I want to ask you that question. The question of whether you think that you're an imposter and how that might be affecting the people that you're trying to reach. But first, let's talk about one quick thing. And that is support for this and all the ChurchTechCast.com shows are generously provided for by viewers like you. Thank you. Head on over to patreon.com/PaulAllenCliff. That's patreon.com/PaulAllenCliff. And you can support the show for as little as $1 a month, or I've got support packages all the way up to $100 a month. Thank you. Every little bit helps me change lives and eternities. So let's first go to what I've heard called the Book of Knowledge, Wikipedia, and let's read what Wikipedia says. The imposter syndrome, sometimes called imposter phenomenon or fraud syndrome, is a psychological phenomenon in which people are unable to internalize their accomplishments. Despite external evidence of their competence, those with the syndrome remain convinced that they are frauds and do not deserve the success they have achieved. Proof of success is dismissed as luck, timing, or as a result of deceiving others into thinking they are more intelligent and competent than they believe themselves to be. So I think that there's a certain level of this that is perfectly normal. I guess this is kind of like if you were ever in an abnormal psychology class in college and every single disease and disorder that you came across, you started to believe, uh-oh, I've got multiple personality disorders. Sometimes I have conversations in my head, therefore I definitely have that. Schizophrenia. I definitely have schizophrenia. The reason I have it is because sometimes I believe things that I find out are not true. Oh no. Well, calm down just a little bit, because I think that we all have a little bit of this, and I think that that's okay. But how you view this it can affect a lot of things in your time chasing your calling, becoming who you were meant to be. Now, let's think about this, because this is something that I just have been mulling over very recently. I was listening to podcast answer man Cliff Ravenscraft's latest podcast, and he was talking about this. I was thinking, yeah, I feel like that. And then it occurred to me, I don't know if it's a message from the Lord or just something that occurred to me, that part of who I'm targeting is because I don't want to be found out as an imposter. What do I mean by that? Well, I know that there are people that know more about video and social media and podcasting, all of my areas of expertise. I know that there are people that know more about those things than I do. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I'm afraid that one of them is going to call me out on a mistake that I make, and so I'm deliberately targeting people that are less likely to know that I have made a mistake. And really, isn't that kind of self-centered of me? Let's stop and think about that. If I am purposely trying to influence only people that can't help make what I'm doing better, am I not just self-protecting, trying to keep myself safe? I think I am. I think what I'm doing is I am keeping myself safe from criticism. And I'm not sure I'm supposed to. I'm not sure that I'm supposed to say, well, I'm only going to interact with people that don't know as much as me. How am I ever going to grow if I do that? So, maybe I need to expand what I'm trying to do. You see, in the back of my mind, I've had the idea that the client I'm trying to reach is the church tech person in the small church whose pastor has just pulled him aside and said, yeah, I think we need to start doing video. Or I think we need to start using that social media stuff. Or I keep hearing about these podcasts. Let's do those. And the person doesn't know anything about this, so they start looking for information. And I want to be that resource. Well, that's fine, but don't I have something to say to larger churches? My church is about 5,500. Don't I have something to say to my church? I think I do. What about larger churches who have perhaps lost connection with their roots of being volunteer-driven organizations, and now all the people that help out on a weekend are paid staff? Can I help them? Maybe I can. What about places where they solve all their problems by throwing money at it, when in fact just a little creative thought would accomplish the same thing and leave more resources for other ministries? I think I can speak into that too. So the idea that I might not be 100% correct in 100% of the things that I say is stopping me from reaching out to other people that I can help. That's challenging. I've just exposed a little something about my own insecurities here. And I want you to do the same. I want you to stop and think, where am I holding back? Where am I saying, well, I'm not good enough to do thus and so, or I can't talk about this, or people just won't get me if I do that? Where is that happening? Stop and think about it. Where? Should you actually be insecure there, or are you just trying to be perfect in the eyes of everyone that you interact with, and so you're limiting the people that you interact with? So I think the root of this is comparison. I don't want to be compared to people who are smarter than me, who have more influence, who have more experience. Do you? Maybe instead of being the smartest person in the room on any given subject, whatever your area of expertise is, maybe what you should do is quite the opposite. Maybe what you should do is try and be the learner in the room, the person that needs to know more so that you can learn more. So in my area, what if I only targeted churches that had no presence whatsoever in my areas of expertise. Well, clearly I'm going to be the person that knows the most about those things. But will I learn new things? What if instead I look for ways that I can tweak what other people are doing so that they get more interaction with me? And so that I learn more, so that I'm corrected where I'm wrong. Ooh, that hurts. I don't want to be wrong. I bet you probably don't want to be wrong either. But I think maybe it's something that we should be willing to be, and that's wrong, if we're going to grow enough to go out and change eternity. Oh, and by the way, maybe you're not an imposter after all. Maybe you just are ignoring the positive evidence and giving greater weight to the negative. So maybe, I heard Michael Hyatt talking about this a little bit, that despite me looking up to him as a mentor from afar, he sees all of his inadequacies and magnifies those. So he had hesitancy about writing the book Platform, even though it's a New York Times bestseller. Even though he already had a New York Times bestseller before, he still fought inadequacy, still fought the feeling that he shouldn't be speaking into this. So, maybe we all fight it. And maybe what you're fighting when you're feeling inadequate is insecurity. Maybe it's not that, at least for most people, that you're pompous and arrogant and that you're trying to do what you shouldn't do. Maybe that's not it at all. Maybe, in fact, it's the opposite. Maybe what you're doing is you're fighting through some hesitancy in yourself that you need to fight if you're going to go out and change eternity. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com, and I would love it if you would share this podcast, this series of videos, depending on where you're watching them, with anyone and everyone who you think would find them helpful. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. It's free, and it's something that will help you get new content as I make it. The show is recorded live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. UTC if it's during the summer, 2 p.m. if it's during the winter, on churchtechcast.com. If you'd like to subscribe in iTunes, this is both an audio and a video podcast, so head on over to TrinityDigitalMedia.com/subscribe. You can also subscribe to all the other shows there. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com.